For more than a decade, Taipei's Herban Kitchen was a favorite among diners who were looking for meat-free or plant-based options. But in the fall of this year, its owners decided to call it a day, and it was curtains down for one of the most successful standalone plant-based restaurants in Taipei. In this week's edition of Taiwan Talk, restaurant owner Marco Henry Lapka talks about the factors that led to the end of Herban Kitchen as well as the future of vegetarian dining in Taiwan.
My wife and I had been mostly vegetarian for, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 years before we opened the restaurant. When we traveled to other countries, we just said we're not going to eat any meat. So wherever we were, we just did our research on Google or whatever, and, found the top 5 vegetarian restaurants in every city. And then did more research and kind of narrowed it down to 1, 2, or 3. And always wanted to open our own restaurant. Always had these great ideas about what we could do in that. It started out as for animal rights. I had a realization that there's not much difference between my cat and a cow. And I thought, why am I petting one and eating another? And I really just think that there needs to be more good vegetarian options for people to choose from, and that's where we wanted to open our own restaurant.
How did you find operating an individual restaurant in Taiwan?
In the beginning, it was relatively simple and easy. We had less competition, or basically almost no competition in the beginning. This was pre-Instagram. Facebook was just going strong, but Facebook ads, this was just starting at that time. So when we opened, we found we had a hungry market willing and ready to come in and try the food, and we provided a good menu and tasty dishes and a nice atmosphere, and things really kind of took off after the first few months. It just grew and grew, and everything was going very well.
And how did you decide which of the items you wanted to put into your menu?
We tasted and tested, and basically it has to be tasty, has to be filling, and of course no meat, no cheeses that use rennet. We're very careful about being vegetarian and or vegan, and respecting all of those certain requirements. But it was just trial and error, tasting things and going, yeah, that's a winner. No, that's not. And then we did that throughout the 10 years, dropping some dishes that weren't selling well, adding new dishes, and bringing back old dishes. The importance was always on tasty food and filling. Like you would feel satisfied with your meal in every way.
How did you feel opening what effectively was a standalone restaurant in an area which is now sort of slowly but surely being taken over by chain restaurants or restaurants with more than one outlet?
Yes, that's kind of the way it goes. It's hard to be an independent restaurateur. If you're a big group and you have a big budget, you have a lot of resources for management and staffing and real estate, you can weather hardships or problems much easier than you can if you're a single individual mom and pop kind of a shop, for sure.
Did you say that the environment became easier, or did it become more difficult as time went on, being an independent the way your outfit was?
Definitely more difficult. There was definitely more competition that came in. In the beginning, we had little, and today, if you look at Taipei or Taiwan, it's become a mecca of vegetarian food restaurants and vegan food restaurants because there's so many of them now. I think competition is great, and I think we fared well with it. I think competition just brings everybody up, makes everyone try to offer more. The customers really benefit.
But Lapka says things changed when this happened.
When we started, there was no food delivery, and everyone knows the rise and fall and rise of all of the delivery services. And I would say, whether it's Uber or Food Panda, it doesn't matter. Food delivery services have harmed the restaurant business, regardless of whether you're big or small or whether you use a delivery service or not. Everyone suffers. Everyone is paying the price for food delivery.
Okay, that's an interesting point because a lot of people might argue that food delivery has democratized the space, right? It's allowed people to get access to food in restaurants in the way they hadn't before. Why would you say that it
True.
became a problem for restaurateurs?
That is a very good point because you can say mom and pop shops, little noodle shops on the corner or whatever, can now be on the same par as any other restaurant. But I guess it's the percentage that they take, it's high. And I guess it just removes who's ordering food is not in a restaurant. So that's empty seats. There was a time when there was no delivery and seats were all full. And then, people want to stay home. Of course, I do too. Everyone orders food. I order food. But it's really kind of damaged the traditional model of a restaurant because whether it's the fees that you pay for the service or it's the packaging that you have to buy, food delivery, it's a necessary evil, but it has changed the landscape for sure.
Okay, and then you talk about COVID as the game changer and one of the main reasons why you eventually had to wrap up operations. Can you tell us more about that?
I think we were on 3-year highs when COVID hit. First of all, I think Taiwan had a nice bubble, was in a bubble for the first year of COVID, and we did really well then. But then it was the second year of COVID, and of course, it changed everything. It, went from delivery only to plastic dividers on tables and all that. But it was really that we could handle. We managed. We told ourselves if we made it through COVID that we would be good. And we did. We made it through COVID. And again, the staff, just one by one, after working for 7 years or 5 years, just began to go away. And they all had very good reasons. They want to do a working holiday in Australia. They want to get their driver's license. They want to go back to school. They want to sell something online. They want to, there was 10 different reasons and for people to leave. And they were all very good reasons, and I don't blame any of them. I would leave if I was them too. COVID opened people's minds to maybe realize that, what am I doing now? What am I doing here? Where am I going? And I should do something else. So I think that's kind of what COVID did to young people's minds, or everyone's minds, maybe, to reevaluate their lives.
Okay, what do you see as the future of vegetarian dining in Taipei specifically and Taiwan on a more general scale?
I think the future's bright. I should say every time I see a new barbecue restaurant or something open up, it kind of makes me frown a little bit. But, if you look at just demographically, you have younger people. They're more open to vegetarian food than the older generation. There's more options today than there were generations ago. I won't say meat's going away, but I think vegetarian/vegan/plant-based diets are here to stay. You just go to the supermarket, grocery store. The options you have now are 10 times more than they were 10 years ago. Plant milks, oat milks, whatever. The traditional meat industry, dairy industries are going to suffer, I think, in the future, and the plant-based market is going to continue to, I think, thrive. I think Taipei itself, Taiwan, has become, like I said before, a mecca. Let's say vegetarians around the world want to go to Taiwan because it's a place with so many choices and options. You could spend a week and not eat at the same place.
Lastly, would you consider reconsidering opening a new outlet when you've had time to regroup and plan new things and think things through?
I would have to have a solid staffing situation. But, I'm going to go back on that. I don't know if individual restaurants can succeed anymore. I kind of think it's going to go high end or low end. You either go high end with high service and pay for it, or you go low end, no service, and you don't pay for it. I think a lot of unfortunately, the urbans of the world might, be less than they were 10 years ago.
You were listening to the former owner of Taipei's Urban Kitchen, Marco Henry Lapka. And that does it for this week's edition of Taiwan Talk. I'm Hope Go. Thank you for tuning in.